Good morning, everybody. Let's have a look at these charts then, shall we? So Bitcoin's coming down a little bit from the Bollinger Band. We lost that Bollinger Band in the, well, I suppose over early morning this morning, and sailed all the way down, planted ourselves on the 50 exponential on the 4 hourly, 64,400 or thereabouts, which is also the 10 exponential as well. So in a strong uptrend, you'd expect the first moving averages of significance to be the place where we bounce from. We bounce from the 10 here, up. Are we going to bounce from the 10 again? Possibly. We don't have any loss of momentum on the daily here, so that's something to take. We have to take that seriously. There's no reason to feel like the daily has stopped this uptrend, but we were approaching, the major. It's a major resistance, isn't it? The top of this descending trend line. So we have to respect that also. So let's go to the 4 hourly, where we saw the loss of the Bollinger Band, the rejection from it, and then the support down here. So I think the 4 hourly might prove to be the more useful chart today. And what we see on the 4 hourly was bearish divergence. It was only subtle, but it does exist. A subtle. What the bloody hell is going on here? A subtle trend line coming down like this, and we see the lower highs in play with the higher highs on the 4 hourly. So if it does get lost, there's a horizontal down here around the mid 62,000s, which also corresponds to moving averages on the daily. So again, that'll be your 21 exponential, your 20 moving average as well on the daily. But a major opportunity would have lived down into the 61,000s if it were to happen sooner rather than later. And that's obviously quite a large pullback for Bitcoin. It will be a further 4.5%. Now, we've been assuming that a pullback is going to happen over the last 3 or 4 days now, I've been saying, and that doesn't compromise the fact that an alt season is still in play as well. I'd get on YouTube you can't win actually. So last week, or even before then, I was saying, look, alt season is likely to start beginning, or at least a major period of alt rallies, and we're seeing that across the board. We've got SHIB up, about 80% at one point. You've even got XRP rallying at this point now, and still, people refuse to accept what they see. Again, it's not big, is it? It's only small, but it is happening. It is happening. So the main thing to think about is that yes, dips are probably for buying, generally speaking. And only when we see the S&P starting to show major weakness or loss of momentum moving up, which again I'll point out shortly, then we might think, all right, maybe a larger drop, not based on Bitcoin and crypto's own charts, but from the larger financial markets coming down as well. And they may not, they might not. The other thing, again, this is just going back to what I was saying yesterday, the Tether dominance possibly bouncing from not just the trend line, but the 200 exponential, the 20 weekly as well. So major support on the dominance chart here that could launch us straight back up. And that is real. We have to accept that is real. There's nothing we can do about that. All we're doing here is boiling down charts to work out what the risk to reward is. That's all. It doesn't mean that it's going to scare me out of my massive amount of altcoins that I've been accumulating over the summer period. That's not what this means. This just means, okay, we might be looking for another move up on here, which means that you might be seeing a move down on crypto generally. That's what it means. And I'm not all in, all out. You know that. I'm just letting you know what I see and what I believe it refers to. And then obviously the dominance chart is actually coming down because Bitcoin is outperforming most altcoins on the way down at the moment, or at least the altcoins of significance are maintaining certain supports at higher levels than Bitcoin is. And Bitcoin is the one that's actually done the bigger plant, which has allowed for the dominance chart to come down a little bit further. So with that said, we have to take ourselves to the 4 hourly, where we were looking at a potential bounce taking place here, and now we're seeing a major rejection on the 50 exponential pushing our way down. So it does look like the place to be, or the place to buy dips, is going to be altcoins still. And so again, like I say, the trolls hated it a week ago, and I said, no, alt season seems relatively likely. It's probably more than that now, because I was talking about it at the 58.5% dominance area. So this is where I was saying that we're probably going to get some serious alt rallies here. And the trolls were like, absolutely not. No way. No alt season, no way, baby. And now, we're starting to see it. And even though we're sort of pushing supports and Bitcoin is coming down, and the dominance chart is also coming down. So I'm not telling you that, you should, change whatever plan it is that you have. The most important thing to have as a trader or an investor is to have a plan, your own plan. If you don't have a plan, then you need to think about making a plan, because if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail, don't you? That's what they say. And it is true. It is true. I get so many DMs on the Telegram, you know, what shall I do? Things are moving up. I say, well, I can't tell you and I won't tell you what to do. You know, the only thing you need to do is to make a plan. If you don't have a plan, then that's... You know, you're going to trade with your emotions, which was what has been happening. I can see it. I get the... Literally, people have a running commentary on my Telegram, and they send me all these direct messages saying, oh, I didn't buy when it was lower, and I didn't accumulate all that time that I had to accumulate, and now it's going up, so I feel like I want to buy it now that everything's gone up massively. I'm like, right, okay, well, don't tell me what you're going to do. Just do it. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you what I do on a day-to-day. And half of the time I don't do anything, you know. It's true. Half the time I don't do anything. I don't really need to. I'm like, okay, well, it's not an appropriate place to be buying anything. But, you know, if we are going to bounce here, we could bounce in. If we don't bounce here, we bounce here. And if we don't bounce here, we bounce here. And if we don't bounce there, then actually things start to get particularly bad, because on the daily, you start to lose this $61,000 zone. You move your way down to 60, and once that's lost, then actually it's back down to the bottom of the trend line. So it's the same as I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 days now. We're talking about potential drop on Bitcoin. So let's have a think about the S&P, which is up a tiny little fraction of a percent right now, 0.2%. That's fine. So with the S&P, the US 500, we've had all this bearish divergence, and it looks like it led to this pullback here, which seems to have ended already. Some hidden bullish divergence taking place now on the 4-hourly as well, so we might get that bounce. Now remember, I was saying that this is overheated, which it is. We had 3 candles in a row now on the money flow index saying I am very hot, but it's not normally the overheated read that can determine the absolute peak. It's the divergence shortly after. Now overheated reads can cause a peak and a pullback. It does happen. It's happened in the past, but it's the divergence on the money flow index. Just a single drive is the one that really does cause the problem. So we've got massive. This is a similar read, to be honest with you. 3 overheated reads. We went sideways, and look, that purple. You can see the lower high here. That marks the absolute peak over here before the bear market. So I'm not saying we're going into a bear market. It's definitely not what I'm saying. I'm saying it is overheated, and you get a lower high read with a higher high of price action. That'll be a bearish divergence on the money flow index, and it would most likely generate a bigger pullback. A bigger pullback in the context of a very, very strong chart, though. So just remember that. So at the moment, it's still getting picked up on that 7 simple moving average on the daily, which is pretty bullish, but it also normally refers to the last stage of a rally. And at the moment, we're battling with the Bollinger Band, and it does look like we are going to try to break out from here. So I don't feel like today is the day where everything comes crashing down, but it might. But it probably won't. So big dips are for buying. These are probably going to be a small dip. However, if we do lose this area, and then we lose the 61,004 or 5 or 600, then yeah, problems are there. So long story short, we're at support right now for Bitcoin, but recognize the Tether dominance chart is at a major support, which might cause a problem. So, like I say, a lot of people get mixed up between trading and investing. Trades are trades, investments are a longer period of time. I don't really see any problem to change the general expectation, which is of the total 2 and the movement on the total 2 that reflects the fractal from the last bull market. We'll just look at that again so we can see how it seems to be working as expected. We've been talking about this since December, buying into this consolidation, wait for it to turn around. It appears to be turning around, wait for the breakout, sail into new highs into next year, probably reaching a peak around September, possibly. We'll see. So that is the general expectation. And again, it's working out just fine on the weekly. So investors, just, as far as my portfolio is concerned, it's fine. It's fine. It's early days. We're still in the first gear of the bull market. However, if we do start to pull back further, it's not a big deal. From a trader's perspective, you lose this support. We could be looking at another move on Bitcoin that could take you down another close to 5%. So just remember that. But Personally, S&P and Bitcoin all getting supports right this very moment in time. So as of this very second, right now, does look like a bounce is the most appropriate way to play this portion of the market. And if Bitcoin bounces from here, the chances are it's going to make its way up to $68,000. True. That's the truth of the matter. Right, I'll leave it with you there. Nothing much more to say. Hope you have a nice day. Feel free to join the Patreon, Telegram, and all the other good stuff you'll find in the link in the description. Other than that, yeah, take it easy.